Yo, yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Hidden and my boy Andrew. We
What up?
here.
What up? What's
What's
good?
up,
What's good,
y'all?
man?
What's up? What's up, Andrew? How you doing, man?
Man, taking it day by day, usuals, man. How about you, bro?
Yeah, man, we good. I'm good. Everything's good. Just blessed. Keeping it neutral, man. Just trying to get by, like you say. We hear y'all talking about The Bride. We just came back from watching this in the movie theater. This movie is starring Christian Bale, Jessie Buckley, and it is basically taking the story of Frankenstein's monster, who is eventually, evidently trying to find a bride. He's been alive for over 100 years now. He's alone. He's been roaming the world by himself, and he's looking for a companion. So he seeks to have himself a bride, and this is basically the bride of Frankenstein's. Um, the whole story behind that. This is actually directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal, who, if you're not familiar with her, she was in The Dark Knight. She also was with Christian Bale when she played Rachel. Rachel, so Rachel is back, and I had no idea that Maggie actually directed movies, so that was actually a surprise to me when I actually found that out.
Yeah, I definitely heard about it. I knew she was doing a movie. I just forgot it was this one when I went to watch it. And then
Right.
when I saw the end credits and saw it, I was like, "Oh shit, that's right." And I was wondering why fucking Jake Gyllenhaal was in the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
I was
Jake
like, "What the fuck is Jake doing here?"
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal, who's actually the sibling to Maggie, he's also in this movie. We also have Penelope Cruz, and we also have Peter Sarsgaard in this movie. And
Penelope's a baddie.
Penelope, which is Penelope. Well, she's Hispanic, so Hispanic don't crack. You know what I mean? Like, she still looks great, and Penelope, she's in her 50s right now, so she
I was
still
gonna say
looks.
she gotta be the same age as Salma,
Yeah, it's crazy. I
or at
believe
least
she's
close
even
to it.
younger than Maggie, and she's in her 50s. She still looks amazing. And she's in this movie. She plays also a detective or a police officer, I believe. And I want to talk about this movie. Have a few things to talk about and say about this movie. So this is not like the Frankenstein movie that came out on Netflix. I mean, Christian Bale does play Frankenstein. I didn't really I can't really say I really liked his version of Frankenstein, but it was more along the lines of just telling the story of the bride of Frankenstein. So that's basically what this was all about. It's a gothic romantic film between the two, undead lovers. And this movie basically has the director, or I should say the author, Mary Shelley. She's basically speaking from the afterlife because she is the creator of Frankenstein. Basically speaking from the afterlife through the bride to basically narrate her story because she wanted to tell another story aside from Frankenstein. So she wanted to tell the story of the
Yeah,
bride.
I found that real interesting. I really like that part. When she basically narrated the beginning, it gave it like a different feel, man. Like I was like, oh, this movie's different. Like it's supposed to be a horror film.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't that scary in my opinion, but
Well,
you know,
Frankenstein movies are usually like dark, and this movie takes
yeah.
place in like the 1930s, so it has like a real like old feel to it, kind of
I think
ominous.
yeah, I think it was trying to stay true to the old school, just this type of horror genre where, the originals, right? Like Frankenstein, fucking Dracula,
Right,
whatever, like
yeah. Mhm.
trying to get back into uh that era. I felt that especially when they played some of the old songs and shit like what do you how do you say that song? The
Um
Monster Bat or
of the
something like that?
monster, yeah, so at the
Something
end
like that.
credits they actually play. I couldn't believe they actually played that song. I'm not gonna lie. I felt like
Yeah.
that was kind of corny to me. I was like, why would you, for a movie like this of this caliber, this movie, I believe this movie spent at least well over 50 million just to make, and it was a really big budget film. So I felt like a song like that really didn't fit the vibe of the movie. I thought it was just kind of like corny, but the movie itself is actually pretty interesting. It's not the greatest movie. Preferred the Frankenstein movie on Netflix that they recently had put out. But I did enjoy the story behind it. I did enjoy how they did the storytelling. I thought that was pretty cool. I felt like it was a little bit rushed with how they introduced Jessie Buckley as the bride of Frankenstein. So basically, this movie takes place around, like I said, in the 1930s. Um I believe it starts somewhere in Chicago, and then it goes to a couple of different couple of different cities. So it starts out there, and then you have Jessie Buckley, who she's basically getting she's basically getting this apparition. She's like she's possessed because Mary Shelley is basically taking her over to tell her story. And she basically passes away. She dies, unfortunately, in the beginning of the movie. And then after that, Frankenstein and the doctor who he goes to see, who's basically a genius in reanimation, he asks her to find him a bride. They dig her up, and then she becomes the bride of Frankenstein. And I just felt like it was a real like rushed process with how they introduced her. I thought the origin of the bride could have been a little bit more fleshed out. I think they kind of just breezed through it a lot faster than I expected them to, and it just didn't really, it didn't really catch on to me quite as much. You know, I really didn't think. I really thought they could have did a little bit of better job of introducing her. You know, Frankenstein, he was okay. You know, he was all right. It wasn't like I said, it wasn't the best adaptation of Frankenstein that I felt like, was in this movie. But again, it's really not his movie. It's more about the telling of, Jessie Buckley and how she became the bride of Frankenstein. This movie was okay. It wasn't the greatest movie. It was an okay movie. You know what this movie reminded me of? It reminded me of The Joker too, with yeah, with Joaquin Phoenix
It had some, yeah, it had some touches on there for sure of
and Lady Gaga as
no,
Harley Quinn.
yeah, I definitely sensed that a little bit, but I think it did way better in my opinion.
Yeah.
From off that, like this movie was to me The Bride. Like I've never known the story, never heard of it. Like, or I mean, I've heard of it, but I've never read about it, watched it, or cared at the time. So, watching this movie and seeing the story was actually very interesting to me, especially with Mary, or whatever her name was that possessed her and told the story. I thought that was a pretty fucking good like uh thing to do.
Right.
Jessie Buckley, man, she fucking killed it. Like her acting was stood out to me like 100%, the most what made this movie, you know, gave it its core. Just her being able to like just fucking change like her accent and shit, right? Like
Yeah.
she
Mhm.
became Mary, or what's her name again? What is her name?
Or Mary
The
Shelley.
Mary Shelley. Yeah, the way she became Mary Shelley and then turned back into regular Iris or whatever her name was in the
Right.
movie. And yo, just the back and forth was like I was like, yo, she's a beast. Like, who is she? Like Jessie Buckley's going she's gonna stand out. Like to me, I think this movie had a lot of Oscar worthy fucking like uh uh just that's what it's trying. I think the movie concentrated a lot on Oscar worthy nominees in a sense.
Performances. Yeah.
Performances, correct. The visuals, like everything was old school. Like you see the old school cars, old school cities. Like
Mhm.
they did a lot of time, perfecting and making this movie. Um, you know, I thought it was a great performance by fucking Christian Bale. Christian Bale never fucking fails, man. To me, he kills every role. Jessie Buckley, like I said, I think she stole the show like a motherfucker, man. Um, uh, did I think it was, top notch movie though at the end of the day? I guess the story a little bit I wasn't able to kind of keep up with because like you said, I think it was rushed. There was some points like how did they like when were we supposed to find out that um she didn't he wasn't telling her who he was or he
Right.
was lying in the movie? I was like, wait a minute, I thought they established that. I don't know. It was
Yeah.
like I don't know if you remember like and then like later on like he was lying to her and then she was catching on like wait a minute, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a couple of because they're basically so when Jessie Buckley as the bride um when she gets reanimated, she loses her memory. She doesn't remember the life that she had previously to when she was alive, and basically Frankenstein is letting her know that she is his bride and he's basically trying to give her a new identity. Now, the problem that I have with this movie is that this movie it's a romantic goth movie, which I feel like it fails in comparison to the 1930s movie Bride of Frankenstein, which was the original movie that came out, well before I was even alive or born. So that movie did very well back when it came out in the original version, and I feel like there was just a lot missing in this as far as like the essence of Frankenstein and the Bride, who they were, because even the original models of Frankenstein and the Bride was just a lot more horrific. They were a lot more frightening. This movie it didn't really give me that kind of vibe. It was like I said, it was more like a Joker 2 kind of movie. They tried to capture something that they did, but it just didn't really hit as much as the old original version back in the day. However, there were very good acting in this movie. I think Penelope Cruz did a great job. I think Christian Bale did a great job as acting as Frankenstein. I think they did the best they could with what they had. You know, but if you're someone who is a fan of the classic horror movie that came out in the 1930s, then this might be a little bit disappointing compared to that came out. So, the movie, like I said, the movie was okay. It was all right. I think that they could have did a better job. It just felt really rushed, and I didn't really enjoy as much as I wanted to, especially knowing the history behind it. I just felt like this was something that they should have put a little bit more effort to, like not saying that they didn't have some great actors and they didn't have some, great scenes, but it doesn't compare to the original. And that's just my take on it. If you're
Yeah.
someone who's new to the story of Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein, you might enjoy this a lot more. If you're someone that's not new to it and you understand the history behind it and you read the books or you've seen the older movies, you might not enjoy it as much. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like what I was missing in this was that history, that knowing. I think a lot of the movie, and which is probably why you know, I lacked a little bit of, understanding in this, was probably because I missed out on some of the history or some of the big, I don't know, big fucking, what do you call it? Just
nostalgia behind it is I feel like the nostalgia behind it is what makes it interesting, but then again, it's like you said, if you're new to it, you're probably not gonna fully grasp how, the essence of this movie, but if you're someone that's like, hip to the original version, it might disappoint a little bit because as someone like I'm aware of the Bride of Frankenstein. I did see that movie a long time ago. Like it was a black and white movie, and those movies back then were a lot more eerie. It was a lot more scary. It was a lot more horrifying compared to like this version, which just seemed to really try to tell more of a love story between the two. And it did that. It told a decent love story. I just feel like it just wasn't really what you would expect from from the Bride of Frankenstein. And
yeah, it
it's
sucks because Jessie Buckley, man, I can't let that down, man. I think she did a fucking outstanding performance, man.
yeah,
I hate that, this movie is probably not gonna get as much credit as it should, because I like to see more of her. I mean, I usually don't fucking brag on actors like that if they killed them. I mean, I do, but like this, she fucking killed it, man.
and
Yeah.
I believe Jessie Buckley also played two roles. I believe she played Mary Shelley and she also played the bride.
She
Yes.
didn't look like her.
It was either she played the role or she voiced it, but I believe she voiced the character. I mean, that's what the Wikipedia says at least.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, so she really had a pretty big role in this movie. But if you got like I said, if you guys are into, the Frankenstein novels, the older versions of this movie, you may find a lot of flaws within the story of how they're telling it and how they're going about it. I just felt like it was a lot that they missed as far as detail was concerned. However, it is a good love story. It is a decent love story between the two. You have these two, undead monsters that are brought back to life by the the doctor who apparently is a professional with reanimation and bringing people back to life, who is played by Annette Bening. She plays Dr. Cornelia. And let me just say that the the idea of a doctor that has the ability to bring, these monsters to life is just is crazy because within the movie she tells about how she actually tried to perform this procedure with her husband who passed away, and then he, came back to life, but it didn't go as planned, and then she had to put him down herself, so she has this ability where she's a mad scientist, and she is just, bringing reanimating these undead back to life. So it was just interesting hearing that story from her. But like I said, it was a decent movie. Would I go see it again in theaters, or would I do I feel like I could have waited to watch this on streaming? Yes. This is something I felt like it's doable to just watch on streaming. I wouldn't say that you have to go see this movie unless you are into the nostalgia of The Bride and you want to see how they did and partake this, movie and how it compares to the 1930 film The Bride of Frankenstein. So that's my take on it. I would say that this movie, I wouldn't rush to go see this movie. It wasn't like the greatest movie. Like I said, it was like a Joker 2, whereas the first Joker did amazing, and then part 2 really didn't get the full, you know, essence, and it really didn't capture it as much as part 1 did. It's the same thing with this. It's like the Frankenstein movie that came out on Netflix. If you like that, you'll probably feel a little bit, shorthanded with this. It probably feel like you just missed out on a lot. Like this, it just didn't have that
Yeah,
spark that the original had.
they're definitely two different movies. The
Yeah.
one you're talking about on Netflix and this one,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, the one on the Frankenstein on Netflix was just an amazing movie. It was just masterfully done. This movie, I just felt like it really felt rushed. I just felt like there was just so much missing compared to, what I'm aware of for the Bride of Frankenstein, and it's crazy because, this movie, The Bride is just like Harley Quinn, the same deal. Like The Bride is more crazier than Frankenstein is, and that's pretty much how they try to like categorize her character. Like she's just this crazy monster compared to Frankenstein, who he's lived a long time, so he's developed some humanity. Whereas the bride, she's still trying to regain her memory. She's still trying to understand who she is, but she's crazy.
yeah,
She's
I think she felt it felt more real though. Can't like the Harley Quinn and the Joker,
yeah,
like that probably went down as probably one of the worst movies ever made. The Joker 2. So I don't know. I can't compare that shit to this one. This one was definitely, you know, uh, if you like the horror films, you like the Frankenstein, if you like that, I know there's a lot of people out there that like those type of horror films, man. I think it was decent watch for sure. It wasn't. I don't think it's gonna be. It's not horrible.
yeah.
It's not a bad movie, but definitely worth a watch if you're a fan for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. It goes hand in hand. Like I said, if you are a fan of Frankenstein, then you're definitely gonna want to go see this. But I feel like those who are fans of this is definitely gonna have some critique. They're definitely gonna have some cons, some negatives to say about this movie. It
Word.
was good to see Christian Bale, playing Frankenstein. I think, like I said, Christian Bale, he always does a great job in his acting. There's no complaints really there. I feel like it wasn't a problem with his acting. It was more a problem with his design as Frankenstein. I felt like he could have been a little bit more hideous. It could have been a little more menacing in the makeup artist, whoever did his makeup or everything like that.
I mean, the original Frankenstein was just green and had a fucking thing on his head. I mean,
Well, no, the one in Netflix, I feel like he was a lot more like. First of all, he was a lot bigger. He was a lot more like menacing looking. Until he started kind of like developing some humanity, he started looking a little bit. You know,
what I'm saying is that the Frankenstein you're talking about on Netflix didn't look like the original Frankenstein that we
true.
know,
Yeah,
fucking black hair, green, whatever. He came a little bit close to it, but not as close.
not
But
as
I
close.
mean, I understand what you're saying though. He did have a kill though on the street. He had a fucking he pulled the fucking what's that shit? That the curb stomp.
Yeah, he did. And
That's crazy.
the thing about it is with this Frankenstein is like he wears this mask over his face throughout the whole movie to kind of like hide his face because he's supposed to be hideous under there. But when he removes the mask, he kind of looked normal to me. I was just like, why are
He
you
got
wearing
a
the
hole in
mask?
his neck. He got a hole. Like he was, you know what I'm saying?
He didn't really
His
look
nose
that
is
bad. I
crooked
was
as shit.
like,
No,
like
nose is crooked as shit, man.
that's pretty much what it was, just the crooked nose. I was like, "You just hiding the nose? Is that it?" Because like when he takes the mask off, people are supposed to be afraid of him, but like people weren't really like. It was just like he looks normal to me. I don't see what the. It's kind of like Clark Kent, when Clark Kent has the glasses on and then he takes it off. It's like, oh, you're a different person, but it's like looks the same to me. He didn't really look that bad. He's supposed to be this monster, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And the bride, she basically has like this smear on her face. Her body has some sort of decay that the reanimation caused from the doctor when she brought her back to life. So it was just like I said, it was a lot of like flaws in the design, but I felt like as far as the acting is concerned, they did a pretty good job in this movie. Once again, my standout in this movie would probably be Penelope Cruz. I just thought she did great. I thought she looked great, and she's just pretty as hell. And Penelope is still, she's
Yeah,
very,
she kind of just jumped in like mid movie. I was like, what the hell? And then she
yeah,
was just like not really the detective, but a detective, and she was just helping out and
yeah.
then became the lead detective. And I was just like, okay.
Yeah, well,
But
it's supposed to come at a time where I guess like they look down on women as being like having any like big careers or big jobs or anything like that. In the 1930s they didn't respect women being, I guess, police officers or anything like major like that. And in this movie, Jessie Buckley, the bride, she is the same thing, just like I said with the Harley Quinn syndrome. She starts this whole revolution where she kills someone, and then now you have a whole bunch of women in the streets who are now trying to mimic her and replicate her, and they're like looking up to her as this, you know, this icon, and is a serial killer icon. It's just like the Joker, where if you watch the Joker one, where at the end, like all these guys now they look up to him. He becomes like this murder for a bunch of crazy goons in Gotham City, you know. So it just kind of follows that same kind of plot design, if you ask me. But still a decent watch. If you guys want to go check it out, I would definitely say give it a try. It's not a bad movie, but again, you definitely will find some flaws in the comparison to the 1930s film Bride of Frankenstein. I would give this movie like a 6, 7, anywhere around that. So definitely
same,
check it
six,
out.
6, 7.
Yeah, definitely check it out if you guys want to check that out. Um, so Andrew, is there anything else you wanted to add to this, or?
No, man. Don't forget Jake Gyllenhaal's in this movie too.
Yeah, yeah, Jake is in this. Well, that's one thing I didn't touch on. So Frankenstein basically has a favorite actor in this movie. Who did he act as in this movie again? Jake Gyllenhaal. He's
Ronnie
like this
Ronnie Reed, something
Ronnie
like that.
Reed, yeah. So he has this favorite actor, Ronnie Reed. He goes to watch his movies all the time. He takes the bride to go see his movies. He eventually meets Ronnie Reed within, the movie, and some events go down. But Jake Gyllenhaal really didn't have that much of a role in this. Frankenstein always kind of fantasizes of seeing himself on the big screen, seeing himself in Jake Gyllenhaal's character. So it was just it has a few interesting story points in this movie. The storytelling really wasn't bad. Just like it was just really not that long of a movie, and it just felt really fast the way everything was going on. Everything that was happening at a real fast pace in this movie. But yeah, man, so once again, you guys, that's The Bride. If you want to go check it out, go ahead. It's not a bad movie, but if you're not really into that stuff, if you're not into the whole lore of Frankenstein, this is something you can definitely wait to watch on streaming, guys. But once again, everybody, thank you for watching our review. Check out The Bride. Let us know what you think about this review. And remember, everyone, it isn't cinema if it ain't absolute cinema. Till next
Right,
time, take it easy.
man.